welcome everyone to the official debate section.
This debate is being conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Cleveland Clinic.
Hey, everybody, this is Incendiary. Thanks for being here. We're sort of short-staffed tonight, but we're going to have fun with the debate anyway. With me tonight, we've got Agent Zero, Justin Sweet, who's the creator of Chrome Dog #1, Perfect Strangers. Thanks for being here, Justin.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, you know, this.
What?
Oh, I was just going to say this project has been in your wheelhouse for a while now. We were just talking before we came on the air that about 7 months ago you were on the show and we were talking about Chrome Dog. I'm glad to see that you've got the campaign up and running, and we'll be talking about that in just a little bit. Usually what we do is I have 3 co-hosts on here, and we ask the guest to pick his ally, who his opponents will be, and who the moderator will be. Well, we're going to go without a moderator tonight, and I guess you and I will debate the topic.
Boy.
Yeah. The topic being, where are customers finding our comics? Now, you might say, well, how is that a debate topic? Well, what I'd like you to do for us, Justin, is tell us, what you've been doing to get your comics out there. What kinds of retail outlets have you chosen? And then we'll debate back and forth. Basically, we'll just talk about it as to whether or not those are good ideas and how well they've been working. So I'll give you the floor. Tell us how that's what you've been doing.
Okay, so last spring, I started to accumulate stock from different indie comics creators, mostly through alternate comics, as well as the remnants of the Long Shots campaign creators. And so what I set out to do was to start putting spinner racks in different stores. One wound up in a card shop, or like a baseball card shop that also had other collectibles and some comics and some this or that. But
okay.
So I installed one there that was primarily geared for kids, so no adult themed anything in that store. I did one at a bookstore that was primarily, it's all just books, and managed to sell the store owner on that idea. So we put a spinner rack in there, and I filled it with comics, and then again keeping it somewhat PG-13. And then there was a third place, was a local grocery store, which that manager was very adamant that we just make sure that everything is PG, at least, or at most PG, keep it very, because of concerned parents and whatnot in the community. And there, not to mention, he's my grocer, so it's down the street, and it's definitely the one spinner rack that I am 100% in charge of myself. In a way, it's like I sell him the comics, but it's up to me to do all of the ordering and everything for that. And I'll come back to that in just a minute. And then the fourth one is at a, I guess what would have traditionally been called a head shop, but it's very much like a kind of a place here in Tennessee. Marijuana is legal in certain ways, and so there's a certain type, a certain blend, if you will, that's perfectly legal. And so this store, where it started out as being 21 and up only goes into the store, they were able to start carrying other products and whatnot. So they have a different clientele that come in, and they kind of changed to very similar to a bodega kind of setup. So it's very much like a convenience store vibe in there. And so that one started with a bunch of adult themed comics that were, from alternate comics like, Wolf, was it Wolf and Batsy? You got Blood Realm, Red Koi, a bunch of different titles that were definitely not for children. And so, I put them in there, and that was back, I want to say it was like last April. But the thing about it was, there was no money in it for me. So it was all just a labor of love. And so it was just like, I was getting them established, giving them the information for them to place their own orders and be able to, stock their own spinner racks. And none of them have actually done anything with it. So what I mean by that is, it took several months for at least two of them to see success. The one is the grocery store here nearby, and then the convenience store that's in a neighboring town. And those two, for whatever reason, they're like, people are starting to want to buy comics on those racks, and so that's kind of neat to see that happen. But again, the money's not there for me to be able to provide the service, because all I'm doing is buying at wholesale from the publishers, and then just selling it pretty much at wholesale, if not we're talking like pennies over that, just to cover the bag and the board, because some of them, like, they want a bag and a board on their comics. I guess because I presented it that way. So that's kind of my fault.
Okay.
That's kind of my fault. But yeah, so there's not much money there, but at least not now. But the thing is, what's funny is the way I did it was a strict setup fee. It's like, you pay me for an initial infusion of comics, and then here's your spinner rack, and then let's see how it does. And so, after almost a year, only two of them are actually what I would call a success, because they actually sold out of their stock and they needed to reorder something new. And so, but the thing is that the maintenance has to be done by someone other than the people who run the store. So the distribution channels are not there anymore, because all of that kind of dried up once everything went boutique style to the comic shops. And so that can maybe open up another section of the debate. So I would say that spinner racks, if placed in the right location and with the right demographic, are going to do really well.
So let's talk about that for a minute. As far as number one, the spinner rack, I was going to ask you, does that mean you own the spinner rack and even provided that for the display?
So no, what it was I was able to get wholesale pricing from a local display company who manufactured, they manufacture them built to suit, but these are actually kit, builds that are made elsewhere. And I'm pretty sure they were made in China. And so I just bought them at a discounted rate, and then marked it up for the businesses whenever I would install. So at least I got, some money back to put in towards producing my own comic, but it wasn't much. And then of course, that's just the initial setup. So like all the money is pretty much in that initial setup, with the understanding they themselves, that they own the spinner rack, but apparently they don't really understand that they own the spinner rack, because they seem to, when I would come around and kind of check on it, they would say, "Oh, well, you're the comics guy, so get us comics." So it's like, so now I have these open doors, so that once, now that I'm in with Arrow and everything, and once Chrome Dog, gets printed, I actually have a place to put my own comic on a rack, carte blanche. So that's kind of cool, right?
That is cool. It sounds like you need to manage their expectations, though. These locations that you're putting the spinner racks in. Number one, because they don't know they own it. Number two, it sounds like they're leaving a lot of it up to you, which, you're only one person. And yeah, you've got 4 locations. That's probably close to manageable. But with your idea, if it takes off, is the grocery store a chain?
No,
Okay. All right. So
they're an
yeah,
independent. Well, I mean, yeah, they're in a league of independent grocers, but no, it's not strictly a chain. No.
because I live near a mom and pop grocery store as well. So they too aren't a chain. I think they have more than one location, perhaps. But yeah. So if that's the success story, the grocery store nearby, that one's easy for you to maintain. You said it's right down the road, so that helps.
Right.
It'll be great that you've got somewhere to put your book once you've got it published. Um, so, if this turns out to catch on in the other two locations as well, do you have any aspirations of, finding more locations, or do you have aspirations of, let's say, for example, I hear you tell me, this has been a great success at the grocery store. I'm thinking about doing more, but so I contact you and say, hey, I'd like to take your model and do the same here. Now, I wouldn't be competing with you because you're in Tennessee, I'm in Michigan, but
Right.
I would have an outlet then potentially to sell my comics too. I've got 13 of them that I've published so far. If I were to get with you and Arrow, because I know the guys at Arrow, Randy's been on my show. Do you have sort of like a model then that you could provide to other creators that would like to do the same labor of love that you are?
I mean, I suppose. I think as far as it really is nothing. I mean, part of all I'm trying to do, or all I did, was just network. When I entered the space and I saw that there was a need, I started kind of talking to different indie creators and seeing who had stock that they were willing to sell me at wholesale price. I mean, that was initially kind of how it went, and so naturally, Alterna was a great place to go for very inexpensive comics. Um, to buy at wholesale because it's newsprint, and it's also low risk on a lot of these people in these places.
Excuse
Because
me. How do you
it's only
how do you
two
mean
to
it's
three
low
dollars.
risk, Justin? Sorry to interrupt.
It Yeah, it's low risk to the consumer, because they can just buy a comic and it's two to $3 versus 5 or 6.
Okay. And versus backing a crowdfunding campaign at 25 or
Right.
okay. All right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you know
Um,
what? There's a
and
certain amount of
yeah,
nostalgia with this newsprint too. I've been getting
exactly.
some of the Alterna books. I've been super happy to find the Alterna books in a local comic store. It's about
Mhm.
an hour or so away from me, but I go down there, visit my parents, or my son is with me, and I see Alterna on the rack, and I'm like, look, Pearson, there's all, and he's like, okay, Dad, that's cool, but you know, um, it's
Yeah.
so cool to see comics on the rack by people I know personally, and I'm kind of
Yeah.
not emotional about it, but emotionally invested in their success because a
Mhm.
rising tide lifts all ships. If I see Alterna selling well, I saw Rampart Press, which is Professor Murphy with his War Party was in that same comic store, so that was neat to see. Um, it gives us, or at least it gave me, some hope that there is a time in the potential near future where my books could be on that rack too.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I think there's a certain hunger, and I don't, I guess you could say I have rose-colored glasses in a sense, because I really think that I'm not the only one who's tired of seeing the screens everywhere. I'm not the only one that's tired of seeing kids with a daggone, tablet in front of them all the time. And I'm sure other parents are they're just getting kind of sick of it all. And so being able to unplug and to read a story, like a comic book, something that you can just kind of take and, you can just kind of drink in, because there's a experiential thing that happens when you sit down with a graphic novel or a comic book that you just don't get with a standard novel. um,
Oh,
and uh,
absolutely.
and and even cinema, or television shows. Like there's a level of engagement and quality that you get in that moment with that piece of work, and I think beyond just the nostalgia of it, I think there is a certain pushback towards these overlords wanting us to always stay online and always solicit to streaming services, and I think there are a lot of folks that want physical media again. We want something to hold in our hands.
I agree.
So,
And, another reason that comic books are a great medium for the kinds of stories that we tell, whether they're superhero, Western, horror, medieval, high fantasy. The thing is, we don't have to worry about an animation budget or a live action. I got to pay
right.
actors. I got to pay special effects guys.
Yep.
I got to pay for, even the key grip and the catering for the set, things like that. I have to pay an artist if I'm not one myself, and I'm hashtag just a writer. But the artist can draw anything. I mean, yeah, as far as how well they do, it depends on skill level. But you could say, I want an armada of spaceships approaching Earth, and you don't have to worry about special effects. It's just the imagination of your artist, and of course, you're going to pick the best artist you can afford, who's available. So, our medium isn't limited. It's limited, but only by our imagination. And as writers, creators, our imaginations are pretty well honed, depending on how long we've been at the craft. So,
right.
Crowdfunding obviously is still an option for us. It's a strong option, although we're starting to see some difficulties from certain platforms because of the cancel culture that's out there. I'm sure you've seen recently that the crowdfunder president / CEO came out and talked to Chris Brawley, and Chris, represents Mike Barron and his currently the book he's got out is Private American, and he's being canceled like rapid fire. But this, I think, is the first crowdfunding platform known as Crowdfunder that came out and said anyone associated with Comicsgate is not welcome on our platform. Now, Chris came right out and said, how will you know who is associated with Comicsgate? How will you know, if someone comes to crowdfund, who they've associated with in the past? And he said, well, we're obviously not going to be able to vet everybody who creates a crowdfunding campaign on Crowdfunder, but as soon as we find out that they're associated, we'll remove it. And you got to know that there are people out there just waiting to see a CG campaign on Crowdfunder so that they can rat them out. Mm-hmm. The cancel culture is strong with some folks out there, and you kind of wonder why they don't have better things to do. Like, instead of squashing us, snuffing someone else's flame never makes yours burn any brighter. So what they're trying to do is monetize their outrage because we are who we are. And it's just it's just reputation and rumor that is so false in so many cases. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but the point of that matter is crowdfunding is becoming a little more difficult for a group of us. So Luke Stone, who was our guest last week, talked about the Fund My Comic platform that he's creating. It's still sort of in beta test. I'm hoping to have my campaign up on Fund My Comic real soon, having a couple of hiccups, but we'll get through it. And that's one of the reasons he asked me, is so that we could work through the possible bugs and then address them. And then options like the ones you're pursuing, I think that not a lot of us have given that much thought because of some of the difficulty that the legwork, takes. So one of the things that, would be great if you could do is provide us an idea of what kind of pitch you provided to the stores that didn't typically have comics in them anymore.
I just went in and started talking about that I represent the indie comic space, and we're interested in making comics that are not political or that are actually just fun and entertaining and not, and I would kind of tell them about how some certain Marvel comics, and then you have these wonderful, fully developed superheroes that instead of duking it out in the street, fighting for justice or fighting against oppression or evil, they're sitting in coffee shops, having conversations like anybody else. And so the thing is, that's not fun. And so, I represent this group that we're trying to produce comics that are more entertaining than that. And so I kind of open with that, and then I kind of come in and I say, okay, do you think comics would be something that that you'd be interested in carrying these indie comics? I said I'm not affiliated with Marvel, DC, or any of the big folks. I'm actually I'm part of a grassroots movement to try to produce good quality comics, and I have certain stock both on hand and then some that I can get in for you. And then we just kind of back and forth, and then it goes into how much is it all going to cost. And so I settle on a number, and they they appreciated the amount. I know that I had to eventually on one of them, we'll say he got a heck of a deal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he and which is, it's kind of ironic because his is actually not doing that well. I mean, he's doing all right, but by doing, I think maybe he's out of the. Let's see, I'm trying to think of how many issues I actually sold him. He's only sold like maybe 10 of what I sold, and I think I sold him like 64.
Okay.
But to be fair, like they have the rack every time I go into that store. They kind of have it tucked away in this little corner. And the other thing is the store is designed for collectibles, not brand new comics, and that's the thing too. It's kind of in that area where the back issues are and stuff. And those back issues they've got them priced at, what the going rate is on them. So you're looking at comics that are, $10, $15, $25 a comic. And then here's the spinner rack full of brand new comics that have cover prices. So it's almost like a disconnect with the customer base, at least in my opinion. And I've even told them, hey, you may want to try, let's take them out of the bags and boards so these people can see what it is that they're buying, even if you take out one each as a reader copy, just so they can see, if they still want a bag and a board, that's cool too. But
okay.
But yeah, ultimately, it's just kind of like, hey, the pitch is, here's a package deal. Here's how much it is to get you started. And I can, provide you with as much information as you want for these different indie creators. And then you can place your orders on your own. And that's pretty much it. And so that, I think I had one rejection, but that was it. It was like a chain, you could say it was a chain convenience store, like gas station place. And basically the reason it was a no was because they were expecting me to be their vendor. And so it's kind of like, if we have that kind of arrangement, it's going to cost more money, because if I have to show up and be the one to fully stock the thing, kind of like what I'm doing down here at the grocery store, because it's not down the street, it's like it's several miles down the road.
Okay.
Then that'd be a completely different conversation. And therein lies the issue with me and doing the spinner racks, and growing, because I had to take stock of myself and say, okay, what am I here for, right? I'm a creator first, so I want to make comics. I want to produce comics. I may not be able to draw, but I've got stories that I'm wanting to tell, and I can't tell the stories if I'm so busy trying to keep up stock in all the different stores, and and make sure that that's a thing. And at the end of the day, how much what money? Because the initial idea was that I was going to take that money that I would make from that stuff and put it into producing comics, but there's no real money there after the initial startup. So.
Well, not only that, but there's a book out there called the E-Myth, which stands for the entrepreneurial myth. And I think the example given in the book is that it's a baker who is fantastic at doing her job. So she opens a bakery and then learns that there are many other hats to wear as a business owner. Even though you may be the best baker in town, now you're also an accountant, you're also a salesperson, you're also a merchandising, it goes on. And she ended up having to hire other people to do the baking so that she could do all of the business end of it. But her love was the baking part. So, I think that what you're alluding to there is if you get more involved in the merchandising end of things, merchandising marketing, you'll have to step away from the creating, which isn't your passion. So,
exactly.
So that sort of goes back to what I was saying about setting expectations. And I see that one of our guests here in the chat, Jason, said, division of labor. And he's right. You may need to get help to do those things that you're talking about in the local stores and whatnot. And I don't know, your personal situation, you may not have help available to do sort of thing. And, even if you did have the help, would they be knowledgeable like you are as far as product placement, which ones would be best in which stores and things like that? Because you're much closer to the product as far as what's contained in it.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. I mean, no one I know around me would have that know-how, and I don't, but so I just, I'm kind of baby stepping these, but I am considering, we've got a store that has multiple vendor slots where you can just basically you essentially rent the space.
Oh, sure. Yep. We have a lot of those around here.
But you don't have to physically be there. You can just keep it stocked with product, and then they sell it through one point of sale. But I don't know the terms on that. First off, and second, it's one of those things that has to come to volume. So if it takes off enough through, if there's enough volume going through there, then yes, I can get deeper discounts on my, on the front end from the wholesaling to be able to, because with me being the retailer there, then I would actually be able to make money out of a store like that. But again,
typically those setups are a rental agreement. And so like you said, you're renting the space and they're on consignment, or they're just straight up, you've got them in there. And when they sell, the point of sale takes either a small margin or it's simply just the rent. But you've got to make sure that there's enough of a volume of customers churning through there that you'll sell enough to pay that rent, or it's a loss, and that that you can't sustain that.
Nope.
Nope.
And that's that's kind of the that's kind of the catch with it.
We have a situation. We had one very close to us that was like what you just described, where you rent sort of like just a small space there. And I considered it with maybe boxes of my back issues. But again, you've got to sell enough to pay for itself. And then are you really making any good money on your comics if all you're doing is trying to pay a rent, So that one there is a potentially a loss leader. What do we have here? Shifter is sending us various pictures. I don't know, but welcome anyway, Shifter. Glad you're here. And for those of you who are watching on the replay, we appreciate you. I know that you've got a lot of different streams that are going on Wednesday nights. So the ones you choose to watch live are cool, but glad that you come back and watch Incendiary. Let's see what Jason has to say here. He's got a recommendation. Print 8-page ash cans and give to the store to give to all the people who have a pull box. Then ask customers to add your book. Here's the thing with that, Jason. What Justin's talking about, though, is a grocery store, a paraphernalia store, a baseball card store, and what was the fourth one?
It was a bookstore.
A bookstore.
That's primarily primarily their clientele are middle-aged women, so not the typical, comic.
Right, not your typical comic audience. Maybe what you're hoping for there
Yeah,
is that one of
yeah,
them's a mom and says, "Hey, my kids would love
exactly.
these."
Right, exactly.
So yeah,
So that's yeah.
the stores that Justin has placed these in, to Jason's point, aren't the kind that's a comic book store that will have people coming in with a pull list of titles. Oh, he says he got it. Okay, yeah. But thanks for the suggestion, Jason. We're glad you're here participating. We appreciate your time. So it is about 20 minutes to the top of the hour. And what I'd like to do now, Justin, is pivot. We'll just say that I think these are great ideas. And, I'm still considering trying to make that pitch to some local stores. Now, I live sort of out in the sticks, if you will, but I do know there's an audience that likes the comics, because there is a comic store about a half hour south of here. So maybe there's a chance that up here in this area, there's enough people that would grab them if they were handy,
Yep.
Shifter says, walk around the Walmart parking lot and pass out those ash cans. You never know.
I mean,
That was the original intent of the ash can, was to garner interest. And we're talking way back, like the 50s, when the ash cans first came out. Number one, they were like pamphlets to get you interested in the characters. But number two, they were also just to make sure that the character was out there published by your company, so that they couldn't be published by someone else. So it might be an ash can that has Doctor Strange on the cover, but the whole interior was Spider-Man. So you might say, well, what was the point of that? It's to get the cover of Doctor Strange out there, so now you can claim Doctor Strange is your character. That was what they were doing at the time. And when people would buy those or get them handed to them, they would see that, oh, Doctor Strange, what's this? They would open it and say, oh, that's the Spider-Man comic I read last week. And they would toss them in the ash can, the garbage bin. So that's why you'll find that if you ever come across those from I think there was the 50s, if you come across those, they're super rare because they were almost intended to be thrown away. Yeah. So there were very few people in that day and age that thought this will be a collectible someday and kept them. So I'm sorry. What I wanted to do here is pivot to talking about the book that you mentioned a while ago, the book that you'd like to see on those spinner racks, and that's the campaign you're running. So I'm going to bring that up, add to stream, and what I'll ask you to do, I'll drive, I'll go, wherever you direct on this campaign
Okay.
page. But first thing I wanted to ask you is, would you like me to play the trailer?
Sure.
All right, let's start there. All right. I hope that was royalty-free music.
Yeah. Well, it's licensed, but it's licensed for use.
Okay, cool. I see, here we are at the top of the campaign page. I see you're 125% funded. Congratulations. That's awesome. That guarantees that book's going to get out there. And I see that you've got Chrome Dog as Luke Cage meets Altered Carbon with a hint of Ninja Turtles and Blade Runner. So you're covering all the bases with that. 27 days left. So I'm assuming this is the second 30-day set?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
What?
and I was going to go InDemand, but it's funny. The day that I extend is the day that Fund My Comic launches officially. So I'm like, oh, okay. And so now that Fund My Comic is a viable alternative, I've decided that I'm just going to let this run its course, and then when this campaign's over, then folks can be able to back me over on Fund My Comic.
Oh, okay,
I'm
great.
actually in the process of, yeah, I'm making concurrent campaigns. I'm still working on my fund my comic listing or campaign, if you will. So,
Okay.
but yeah.
In the meantime, walk me through this one.
Mhm. Yeah. So, so what we have here, well, I don't, how do you want to start? Because we can go down the left side with the description.
Tell you what, let's tell the
Um,
folks about the comic on the left side, and then tell them
sure.
how they can get the comic and what bundles on the right side after that.
You got it. So what we see here, so it's Chrome Dog #1, Perfect Strangers. The name comes from there's a group of uh, all these different characters that are kind of coming together in a way. They're all strangers in a sense, so it all just kind of works. So as you read the 32 pages in this book, you're gonna kind of get it. And I felt like it was one of those things. I was like, I wanted to title this issue something, and it hit me. I was like, okay, well, here we go. And so what we see here is Aaron Lopresti was kind enough to say yes when I asked him to do a variant cover for me. And so this is Chrome Dog and one of his nemesis, Seether. And so they're perfect strangers. So this is their throwdown at like a climactic point of the issue on board a ferry that's over some choppy waters, and as we see, it's a big torrential downpour. And Chrome Dog is actually he's moonlighting this night, working a gig as a ferry attendant, and so yeah, there's some things happening on the ferry, and you could say that Seether kind of jumps in, and so the fight ensues.
So, Aaron Lopresti, a few of us might have heard of him.
Yeah,
That was a good get.
yeah, yeah, and it turns out all you have to do is ask some people. It's just kind of like, oh, hey, I'm looking to get a variant cover. Are you interested in for how much? And
Right.
that was pretty much it.
So here's
So
something you may need to change.
yeah, I do. You know what? I thought that I saved it without that, so it's my bad. But yeah, so with that, the Lopresti variant is going to be um, available on both campaigns.
Okay.
So the whole InDemand doesn't matter anymore. But the Lopresti cover, I was going to try to keep it. Had I stayed with IndieGoGo through the duration and on into InDemand, I wanted to keep the Lopresti covers like specific to the campaign itself. And so once I went in demand, I was going to shut down all of that just to kind of keep it somewhat unique. But now I kind of want to entice people to go over to Fund My Comic.
Right.
So I feel like maybe sunsetting the Lopresti cover over here and then having it available over there to entice people to back me over there. But at the same time, I also want to remain fair to people who just wanted to back it over here, just haven't yet, I guess. So I'm on the fence on with that in that regard. But
Well,
I do say, yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking as a customer, given the current
Mm-hmm.
climate, I would be more inclined to go buy it or back it on Fund My Comic.
Okay.
I mean,
So yeah,
I'm
and
just one customer, but just to give you an idea of how customers might feel.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, so tell us
So
more. What else have we got?
Yeah, so as we scroll down, we kind of get a little bit of a blurb of what's happening. There's a preview Ashcan link right there, and then I actually taken notes from what Grant Nolan did with Mataku McKee. I've taken that 10-page Ashcan and I've given it to people to kind of scroll down and read the first 10 pages.
Yeah, it's all right here.
Yeah, it is. It's all right here. And so you're basically getting, for free up front the first third of the comic book. And that is mainly because I want people to kind of get invested in this world that I'm building and these characters that I'm creating. I'm trying to anchor them. And so they're going to want to know what's on that 11th page and beyond, and take this journey with me. I have an initial plan for, the first 3 issues being a story arc, and each one is going to be 32 pages. And it's basically so that Chrome Dog can deal with this, these issues that he has right now. One of them is a very pressing issue that he has to deal with. And then once we get through that, then starting with issue number 4, he can be free to do some other things as he goes along, and we get to explore his character.
So will Chrome Dog eventually be part of a team?
No.
So he's meant to be a solo character? Okay.
He may be a team, but only like limited. Like he's a very fiercely independent, to be quite honest. But I mean, like, is he going to be the Thing of the Fantastic Four? Never, right? But would he be like a Wolverine that kind of blows in and helps out here and there and then leaves? Sure, right?
Gotcha.
But he does have a ride along who we're gonna really get to know in this comic. I mean, we're gonna get to know her pretty well, and she's gonna be his sidekick, or I guess it would be a fair comparison, kind of like his Alfred in a way.
Oh,
so
all right.
Yeah, so
a little bit of his conscience, maybe.
Yeah, well, maybe, but he actually has a very rigid, moral compass, but he has a certain naivete that he's far too trusting, and so maybe if anything, she's going to help him with that.
All right,
but she's maybe a better comparison is like Whistler to Blade. Having or Micro, having Microchip to Frank Castle, having this sidekick, but not necessarily be one that goes and fights with him, but can hold her own, should, and show up at certain key moments and this and that. So I mean, I'm looking forward to for us to explore that. But yeah, the super team, no, but he may team up from time to time for sure.
Okay, I see here that you've got the standard, the almost necessary 6 a.m. version of the character. I just love his stuff. So you did a great job.
I scooped that up early on. I just went ahead and because I liked what I was seeing with what he was doing with like Weaponized Werewolf and Aquila, and so I was
and Projectile Reptile.
I approached him. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember seeing yours. Yeah, nice.
So we got a stretch goal at 3,500. So let me real quick bop back up here. 3,100. Okay, so we're not far from that.
Now a brief caveat. When I start the Fund My Comic, I'm going to set the initial funding goal over there at $500, and I'm going to make the stretch goals be cross-platform. So once we reach the 500 goal over there, it'll automatically unlock this one, regardless of whether or not we're at the 3,500 mark yet.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because I'm adding them both up.
I was going to say that'll take a little bit of financial juggling, but I'm sure you've got the ability to do that. And we've got, so what's this?
So this is just a panel from page one
Oh,
all
okay.
the way up, and I love this panel, and so I isolated it and I just threw it on the campaign to have a little bit more eye candy. But this is a moment where he's talking to his virtual intelligence, Sally, and it was just kind of a cool scene that I gave Luke just a small prompt as far as like, hey, I want him to be conversing with her, and he came up with this cool design, and then Patrick Gamma really knocked it out of the park with the colors to kind of show the two. So what we're seeing here visually is the pink is this all over the place noise that pretty much is Sally's influence in his what's the word, in his memory banks, I guess would be the better way to say it. And then the blue represents pretty much what he is in this. So
Okay. And you said that you gave Luke a small prompt. So is Luke Stone your interior artist on this whole piece?
yes. So yes,
Okay.
Luke Stone. We've got so I've got Luke Stone on art. He and I we worked together on the character concept, and then he asked me who I was going to be getting to draw his book, and I said, well, I hadn't really thought of it yet. He says, I'm going to do your book. I said, oh, you are? And he says, yeah. He says, you want me to do your book? I said, oh, okay. and so there we are. And then Patrick Gamma is his colorist from Hybrids. And then if you'll scroll down, we'll take a look at the rest of the creative team. I was able to snag Eric Weathers for the letters on
The
on
hardest
book,
working man
so,
in Comicsgate.
Yes, and I tell you, thanks to Ethan Van Sciver providing a deemed and dented version of Blood Honey. I went ahead and grabbed it up, and when I got it in and I got to reading it, I fell in love with the letters and the designs that and the choices that Eric Weathers did. And so I'm like, he's got to do Chrome Dog.
He is a great letterer for a couple of reasons. Number one, very professional. Number two, very timely. He's lettering Projectile Reptile for me, and I'll give him a batch of 6 pages, and I get him back within 2 days. I don't really know how long it takes to do the lettering, but regardless of how long he spends on it, to get it back that quickly, I think shows a dedication to the contract, really. And another thing he does really well is the letters don't draw you out of the story. They are seamless with the art, in my opinion. And as you're reading it, you don't notice that you're looking at lettering. You've always read comics, or you've read comics for decades, and every now and then something the letterer does catches your eye as opposed to just being read. And if that happens, it draws you out of the book. Instead, Eric's stuff feels seamless from one panel to another, which, the best letterers are the ones you don't notice until you go back later and say, you know what, who are the creative staff on this? And then you say, oh,
Yeah.
Eric was on it. That's why I didn't notice the lettering. That's how good it is.
Yeah, because you can definitely, you can spot something that's just like, wait, what, what is this?
Yeah.
What's this? Why was this put there? It should have been over here,
Okay, so
Oh,
we
yeah.
are at about 5 minutes to the top of the hour. What I'd like to do now is have you tell us, in what ways can we back this project? Like, what are your
All right,
tiers?
so there's several different ways. The feature tier we see here is the Arrow Bundle #2, which is something that Randy Zimmerman, our publisher at Arrow, he's kind of put in place for each one of us Arrow creators to have on our campaigns, so that we kind of scratch each other's back, so to speak, and also to get more Arrow comics in the hands of more people. And so this one, it features 6 comics. You've got Hybrids #2. You've got Hero Bot Zero #2, the Revolt #2, Soul Tack #1, Breakout. It's just a single floppy of the first portion of Mad Ruth, aka Craig White's Soul Tack graphic novel. And then there's The Fool #1, which is that's a Randy Zimmerman story, and then of course Chrome Dog, and then plus the and if you back on this at this tier, you'll also get the stretch goals as they become unlocked.
And don't forget, you'll get that sticker by 6 a.m.
That's correct.
Because this is a physical
you'll get the
tier,
sticker.
right?
It's a physical tier, absolutely.
Yep. So Here About Zero is
And-
also Randy's. Who did Revolt, or is that an anthology?
So that's issue #2 of the anthology, which if anyone remembers was the thicker anthology book that Randy had run a crowdfunding campaign on, like before I even came into the design space. So I think it was sometime year before last.
Okay.
Maybe even
All right.
before that, I'm not sure, but
So I mean, this bundle is pretty. It's a pretty good price for all that you get.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot there, and I've read Hybrids. I've read Here About Zero #1. I know that those are good. I think I may have even gotten Revolt. Oh wait!
so Revolt #1. Yeah, the Revolt
Okay.
#1 was the Revolt #1 was associated with the Long Shots campaign.
Oh, that's why I got it. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, and of course we'll be bringing that up here shortly with the Arrow Bundle #1. But moving on, we've got work from home. So what I've done here is each one of these tiers I've kind of given work terminology, because Scratch, aka Chrome Dog, is like that's his thing. Like he's a workaholic. He's always doing something, whether he's doing shift work, fill-in work, or gig work. So here we have a work from home, which is what I call the digital tier for those who are who prefer to read on tablets. I'm sure there are some who do, and then others are from foreign lands and don't want to. The shipping out of the U.S. is outrageous.
Right.
I still don't understand why it's so much to ship from here, but it's not that much to ship to here. So, but
Good question.
it is what it is. Yeah, I know.
All
I love
right.
the
So
governments
that's your
around the
digital
world.
tier.
Yep. And so First Shift is Luke Stone cover. So this is the standard Chrome Dog cover, the one that's going to be featured on, hopefully a spinner rack near you or a comic store near you that carries Arrow Comics.
Okay.
And so it features all the Arrow Comics trade dress. The second shift, Aaron Lepresti cover. Now, and the other thing I want to highlight is both of these two versions of the comic are the same price. They're both at $15. The only thing is the Aaron Lepresti cover. This was an early mock-up, and this mock-up features a logo and the trade dress and everything on it, where the actual cover is going to be a virgin cover. So I'm going to push all of anything that would have been a trade dress on the front, I'm going to put it on the back. So that way we get to see all of his wonderful line work and colors on this issue. And the other caveat is when we go to print with this thing, that it's going to be a one and done as far as the print run goes. So I don't plan on there will be no reprints of the Aaron Lepresti cover. So.
Did you say this will be in color when it's printed?
Yes, that was an early mock-up, but thanks to the magic of IndieGoGo and how once someone backs a book, you can't edit or change the perk anymore.
Right.
So I can't change the verbiage or the photos on there. And rather than mess with backer counts and everything else by creating a new perk and superseding that one, I left it alone just to kind of, and so I figure I can explain it.
Sure.
But now that Fund My Comic is becoming a thing, I can just make the changes I need when I need to over there.
Right. Now you said we were going to get to Arrow Bundle #1, and here it is. What's different about this one?
So some of you may recognize this. The Arrow Bundle #1 was featured on the Rift Riders campaign. That's Luke Stone's and Piper Steed and John Dillard's comic.
Mm-hmm.
And so it features 8 comic books. You got Hybrids #1, Sin Killer #1, Only Death Can Save Us #1, HeroBot Zero #1, Paragon #1, Calico #1, the Revolt #1, and then of course the Rift Riders #1. And so this is another one of those situations where Randy says, hey, you know, you're an Arrow creator, so put this on your campaign to get more of the Arrow comics in people's hands. So you'll notice there's 2 things missing from this. One is there's no Chrome Dog comic book, and there's also no perks associated with this one. Not perks, but stretch goals associated with this one. However, it is a physical tier, so you will get a Chrome Dog sticker, and it's like a hollow foil sticker. I can't wait to get a mock-up eventually, or heck, I'm probably going to wind up just spotting for them, and then I'll just take some photos of the stickers I get in as we go along.
Okay. Yeah. You know, this kind of bundle, it's a catch-up tier. So I think that, you know, you can have this as a standalone or as an add-on, right?
Yeah, and it is.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And I think this is there's a couple more tiers. Tell us about this one.
Yep. So the Midnight Shift is the Lopresti cover, and then plus a Lopresti print. It's a metal print. So it'll be the same art, but on a metal printed surface.
And will it be the same size as a comic or oversized?
That's a great question. According to what I understand from Luke, it's going to be the same size as the comic.
Okay.
Which will ease shipping as far as like being able to fit in a.
You know, not only will it ease shipping on your end of things, it'll ease storage on our end of things.
Yeah, there you go.
Because I mean, honestly, a lot of these perks that I get, I want to put them in the comic box with the comics. And if I get these prints that are huge, now I'm like, all right, so where am I going to put this now? You know?
Right.
All right, very good. And then the Swing Shift pack.
And as much as I love what Lopresti's done for us, and I definitely like to feature his art. This was something that I definitely wanted to see happen initially, because Chrome Dog, because he's metal, and because I wanted, I really wanted a chromium cover, but then I saw how much trouble Ethan was having with trying to get Rex Planet printed and everything. I didn't want to cause any delays, any problems with the printing of my comic book. But on the other side, I also wanted to showcase this lovely, like the whole piece of this cover, so that we can see that there's 2 moons, so that the reader is instantly like, you realize, okay, this isn't Earth. I'm not dealing with Earth here. And and so with this being a metal print and it being Chrome Dog, it was definitely like a hand in hand sort of thing. So it's the Luke Stone cover variant of the comic, and then it's of course that same metal print. For
all right.
$55.
And then the All-Nighter bundle.
Yep, the All-Nighter bundle is now the only way that you can get the black and white line art edition, because I kept that exclusive to the first 30 days, and so this was the only other way folks could still get it. And so you get 3 different variants of the comic. So you get you get the Luke Stone cover, you get the Lopresti cover, and then you get the line art edition, which does not have lettering. It'll just be strictly black and white line art. And then you get both metal prints, and of course the stretch goals all in one big bundle together.
Wow, that's great.
For $100.
That's probably the most bang for your buck right there. I know it's not your featured tier, but still in all, I think that's a great deal right there. All right, folks, there you have it. We have, let's see here, 67 backers with so far 27 days left. We'll see if he sunsets this and moves on to Fund My Comic in the next few days. We'll see if he can get that funded over there at the $500 goal. I think you're going to do that, and that will, of course, bring us to the first stretch goal. So lots still going on, even though this campaign on IndieGoGo may be sunset. Give it a try.
So having so what I mean by sunsetting is sunsetting the actual Lopresti was what I was considering. But no, I'm keeping the campaign up for as long as I've established on here. Like there's no reason for me not to just let it run its duration. I'm just not going into InDemand. I've opted out of InDemand, or as they say, I've unchecked the opt-in for it. So by default, I've opted out. So it will not be going in demand. There is 27 days left on this campaign, and that is going to be it for the IndieGoGo and Chrome Dog.
Okay.
So.
All right. Well, if you don't get it here in IndieGoGo, you'll still have an opportunity on Fund My Comic. So be watching for that, and watch for lots of books to start going to Fund My Comic. I think that what Luke's got going on over there, I'd really like to see it succeed. It's a place where we won't be canceled by anybody. So there's that. Let me go here, and we will stop sharing that. Bring us back up to. I got a bunch of questions here that I wasn't seeing because I was looking at the campaign page. So let's see here.
Sure.
You should add a voice track. Okay. Corey Barton is here. Hey, Corey, with Nicholas Gear joining us. Thanks for being here. And then, of course, some folks were greeting one another. Oh, here we go. Love that cover. Will it be on steel, too? So, yeah, I guess when he said he had metal prints, that answers your question, Shifter. You will have a chance to get metal prints on those two tiers. Yep.
It will be steel, not aluminum. I don't know who prints aluminum, but yes.
So for those of you who are here live, thanks again for your time. Thanks for watching. Those of you who come on the replay. And of course, Justin, thanks for coming on and talk about both the opportunity that you may have to get these things into some local stores, not necessarily comic stores, and to tell us about your campaign for Chrome Dog. Join us next week, folks. Hopefully we won't be short-staffed. We'll have a debate going on next week, too, right here on Incendiary.